What happens when an author tells the story of himself telling the story of himself as a 1930s lobby boy? My name is Thomas, and this is Thomas Reviews, the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Thomas Reviews.
The Grand Budapest Hotel. Going into this movie, I was expecting nothing. I had not seen a single trailer, and the only thing I knew was that this was a film full of known cast. Directed by Wes Anderson, you have a very peculiar movie starring the likes of Ralph Fiennes, Adrian Brody, Willem Dafoe, Jeff Goldblum, Jude Law, Bill Murray, Tilda Swinton, and many more. And with that in mind, I went into this movie completely blank. So of course, when the movie started, what met me was just pure utter shock. And before you say, "Oh Thomas, how did this movie shock you?" I can tell you that it shocked me in a very positive way. I was amazed. I have not seen a single Wes Anderson film before this, so I did not know of his style. And let me tell you, it is a very peculiar style. I would say it's a heavily stylized movie. The whole story is centered around this hotel, which almost seems like its own little world. It's almost like a tiny bubble. And some of the camera work is very interesting. His use of aspect ratio varies throughout the film. Some people might be thrown off by the fact that they constantly keep changing the aspect ratio, but I think that the movie benefited from doing exactly that. Now, I don't want to give away too much of this movie. You want to go into this movie completely blank like I did and just be shocked and amazed. Every actor delivered, and Wes Anderson has got such a peculiar style that is so interesting, and you just get sucked into this world that he has created, and it's just a bubble of... The movie is a comedy drama, and you can spot that several times throughout the movie. This movie had me laughing a whole lot. It was filled with great comedy, sometimes a bit dark comedy, but that worked for the movie. The time periods of the movie are also a bit confusing, or it can be, because they go from being in the 80s to the 60s and then to the 30s. So they do quite a lot of time jumping. Not so much to the 80s, as that is just in the beginning, but they do go back and forth a lot. But I think it works. It's so interesting. I've never really seen any film like this before, and it really hooked me and it really dragged me into it. Some of the things with the camera work that caught me was the fact that I'm not sure if they did, but it seems like they used tilt shift. For those of you who don't know, tilt shift is a technique where they have a very narrow focus so that only certain parts of the film, usually in the middle of the shot, are focused and the rest of it is blurred, so that it seems like it's in this sort of miniature world. And that technique is used quite a lot in this movie, but it works. It just further enhances this fantasy world they've created. And of course, sometimes they take the storytelling to the extremes. Now, there is a scene where they're doing some skiing, I'm not gonna say why. The speed on those things, it was just crazy. It was a really high speed, almost to the point that you would think, oh, but this can't be true. The thing about this movie is, it's the story of a story being told, and since they have all these layers, you know how people spread a story just by word of mouth? You know, things can change a bit, and people tend to over-exaggerate things when it comes to telling stories. And that is why all of those things works in this movie. The over-exaggerated things in this movie work because it's a story being told. And that is the magic of this movie. I just find it very interesting, and I had a really good time in the theaters. So, would I recommend the Grand Budapest Hotel? Absolutely. Be aware though, this movie might be a bit on the side of love it or hate it. If you don't like very heavily stylized movies, if you don't like things that are very peculiar and very strange, then chances are you might not like this. But if you're like me and like really strange things and something different, then you should definitely check this movie out. So how is this Mr. Lee Films weekend extravaganza working out for you guys? I think it's going very well with the ride-along review yesterday and this review today. And then we have a Sunday sit-down tomorrow. It's gonna be a great weekend. What movies are you watching this weekend, or have you watched this weekend? And what exactly do you think about the Mr. Lee Films Weekend Extravaganza? Leave a comment in the good old comments section. Remember to subscribe for a brand new video every Thursday and Sunday. My name has been Thomas, and you've been watching Thomas Reviews, and I will see you next time. When is this going to end? What time is it? Does anyone know the time? You know, there's nothing I need to do. It's just this movie's so boring. And that's really my main issue about this movie, is that it's so boring.